During Ryan Day's recent presser, he reminded us about something that's very important, and it's why he needs to see more before naming a starting quarterback.
You are Locked On Buckeyes, your daily podcast on the Ohio State Buckeyes. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome in, Buckeye fans, to a Thursday edition of Locked On Buckeyes. Here on Thursday, June 27th in the year 2024. I'm your host, Jay Stevens, also the host of the Jay Stevens Podcast. And today's episode is brought to you by Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. One thing we love is when Ryan Day hops behind the podium during an different or an abnormal time of year to give us an update about things going on inside the Woody Hayes Athletic Center. And you got Ryan Day speaking about different things going on currently. Got to hear about Caleb Downs, but also got an update about the things he is concerned with regards to positions at Ohio State leading into preseason camp, leading into the first game of the upcoming season. And Ryan Day recently talked about some concerns that he has right now. And one of them, the main one, is the quarterback position. Now, some of you may have heard or may have thought you heard, hey, well, this thing is done. This battle is complete. Well, Ryan Day is right now kind of in a spot where I am. Well, it's that you need to see more before naming a starting quarterback. Yeah, I know who I think is going to win the battle or who should win it. That doesn't mean that it's actually going to happen. And Ryan Day saying, hey, we got concerns at the starting quarterback. There are things we need to see, things that we cannot say definitively right now about that position. And y'all, that's okay. There's nothing wrong with Ryan Day coming up and talking about and discussing some concerns he has with the various positions. The ones on offense that he highlighted: quarterback, offensive line, wide receiver depth. O-line was primarily just the right side of the O-line. And then on defense, interior of the defensive line, basically defensive tackles, safety depth, and also punter. The two he didn't mention, we're going to touch on those later, maybe later on this week, maybe next week, not really sure. He did mention tight end, and he did not mention linebacker. And that one kind of made me pause and say, wait, why are we not on the same page? Because linebacker should be a major concern, just like tight end is a major concern. But in regards to the quarterback, which was the first thing he brought up, is Will Howard the guy? Should Ryan Day have concerns or be a little hesitant about Will Howard being the starting quarterback in the fall? And based off the film, based off the things that we have seen, and based off what you see right now at Ohio State, even though he is the best option to be a starting quarterback based off his experience and based off the guys that are in the room as well compared to his experience, I think there's a level of concern everyone should have. Because when we think about Will Howard, a lot of Ohio State fans, I am not one of them, will compare him to JT Barrett. Well, wait, what did JT Barrett do very, very well? He was a great quarterback, but also he was good with his legs, and he was a good quarterback, an ideal quarterback for Urban Meyer's system at Ohio State because of the above average, sometimes elite running back play that the Buckeyes got when Urban Meyer was here. So there is that factor into it. But when you think about Will Howard, if you're comparing him to JT Barrett and you're looking at his legs, what about his arm? Well, you bring in, you have the conversation with McCord you have at the end of the season, well, after the Michigan loss, because, well, you want to have that conversation and really just be honest with them about where you currently sit with him. But you go out there and get Will Howard. I know the numbers aren't everything. The film speaks a whole lot louder, but their numbers, they might be a little bit more similar than what you think. Will Howard last year was his best year statistically as a starting quarterback, 2,600 passing yards, 7.5 yards per attempt, 24 touchdowns, 10 interceptions, a passer rating of 140.1. Kyle McCord last year, 3,100 passing yards, 9.7 yards per attempt. 9.1 yards per attempt for McCord. For Howard, it was 7.4. I had to get that correct. 25 touchdowns, same as Howard. 6 interceptions for McCord, less than Howard. Their completion percentage, McCord had a higher completion percentage of 65.8. Howard's is 61.3. So for everybody to say, well, Howard's going to be coming in being an upgrade, is that true? I don't know. I got to see it with my own two eyes. You may say, Jay, well, with the talent at Ohio State, you would think that he would be a guy that can be raise his play. That is true, but can he get the ball to them? People wanted to pull their hair out, and I ain't got much. People wanted to throw things, and this year I didn't throw a hat like I did the previous season. People wanted to do a lot of things in regards to, well, the play, to react to the play of Kyle McCord. Have you watched the film on Will Howard? He ain't Vince Young, and I mentioned Vince Young because I went back and saw some plays from that epic, I don't use that word lightly, epic BCS National Championship game in the Rose Bowl against USC that year. He's not Vince Young. He's not Matt Leinart. He's not one of the upper echelon or elite quarterbacks currently in the game. So I do think there's a proper level of concern everyone should have with Will Howard. That does not mean he's the best option, but that also does not mean he has shown everything he needs to see or show right now to be handed the title of QB1. Ryan Day made a very important comment about the quarterback position this year, and I think it's very important that we realize that Ryan Day is moving towards the right direction, but is Howard the guy to get the Buckeyes to that direction? Quote, here's Day on this particular topic. Quote, I don't think it's been any mystery that we plan on running the quarterback a little bit more this year. So I think depth is going to be critical in the room. It's not going to be the number one thing we do, but we want to make sure we have that depth in our room. I think we've done that at a high level, and I'm excited about the entire group, end quote. Okay, Ryan Day, we agree on something. I'm excited about this group as well, from the youngest or from the guy that may be the newcomer, that's the lowest rated newcomer in Aaron Nolan, to the seasoned vet in college football that's in the room in Will Howard. I personally am like Ryan Day. I am excited about the entire group. But if you want to run a little bit more, cool. I think Howard is a better option to run the football at quarterback than McCord, even better than Devin Brown. Just going to throw that out there because it's going to come up later in the show. But what we know about Ryan Day's offense is that Ryan Day's offense is an offense that puts a premium, a hefty premium on throwing the football. You want a guy out there that has an above average arm. You want a guy out there that can make all the throws. You want a guy out there that is accurate. Will Howard struggles to make all the throws. He is less accurate than McCord was last year during his best season. He's started multiple years. That is Will Howard. Kyle McCord only started 1 year. So for everyone to knock Kyle McCord, 3,100 passing yards, 24 passing touchdowns, 6 INTs. I understand it's not up to the standard, and he was not good enough last year. I am not saying that. But that's actually a lot of schools would want that there. And in year 2, you would expect McCord to take the next step, because I personally do. But here we are. McCord's gone. I'm not really upset that he's gone. I just think that it maybe could have been handled a little bit better. But that's not my decision to really go out there and say and dictate how every aspect should be handled. What I should say and what I will say is that there's a level of concern that I have, you probably have, and everyone has with Will Howard being the quarterback. Not saying it's an unhealthy thing, but it's real because we all want to see if he can make all the throws, if he can raise up his level of play. Let's say he does it. Is Devin Brown the answer for the Buckeyes to start at quarterback this fall? We'll answer that question next. This episode is brought to you by Gametime. Gametime is an authorized ticket marketplace of Major League Baseball, which makes getting tickets faster and easier. Prices on the Gametime app actually go down the closer it gets to the first pitch, with killer last-minute deals, all-in prices, views from your seat, and their lowest price guarantee. Gametime takes the guesswork out of buying MLB tickets. One thing we know about baseball is there are games almost every night in your area, or maybe you're going on vacation and trying to catch a game, but you're not sure if you'll be able to based off the plans you and your family have while you're gone. Well, if you're trying to find a way to purchase last-minute tickets, Gametime is that place, and they even help take the guesswork out of buying Major League Baseball tickets. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONCOLLEGE for $20 off. Download Gametime today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. Are you watching Fox Sports or ESPN on your TV all day? Have to turn down the volume with all that shouting? Make the switch to Locked On Sports today, a free 24/7 sports streaming channel program for you every day to bring you the biggest stories without all the screaming. Locked On Sports today brings you can't miss analysis, opinions, and news, streaming 24/7 on YouTube or the free Amazon Fire TV channels app, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. The everydayers at Locked On Buckeyes have heard numerous conversations about the quarterback and really are a group that understand why the Buckeyes have concerns at this position. I think it's healthy, especially when you not only have a transfer quarterback coming in, but everybody else ain't got no experience. Think about what you have right now in the quarterback room. You got Devin Brown, very limited experience. You got Lincoln Kienholz, very, very limited experience on the field. And then you got Julian Sand and Eric Nolan have zero experience playing college football. So as much talent that we think is in the room and how excited we are, the reality is this room is not that experienced right now. And in comes the conversation about Devin Brown. Is Will Howard the guy? I think he should be the guy, but I still think he has to prove it. I don't think you could just hand him the job and say, well, you have done enough, sir. This job is yours. Regardless of everything else, go ahead and just take the title of QB1. No, you have to earn it. And I'm a person that still believes you have to earn the title of QB1. I don't have enough data. I don't know enough right now to sit up here and say that Devin Brown is the answer. And what is the data that I'm looking for? Well, the film. We ain't got much. And that's not his fault. What we saw last year from Devin Brown was he literally got hurt. I think it was 3 times in a calendar year, from getting hurt during spring practice. Actually, 3 times in 9 months, 8 months. It was something short. He got hurt during spring practice, didn't play in the spring game. He got hurt against Purdue in the middle of the season, and then he got hurt again against Missouri in the Cotton Bowl. So the film we thought we were going to get on Devin Brown, no, we didn't get it. It's not his fault. He got hit with the injury bug like other players at Ohio State, which is another conversation for another day, because I have my own concerns, just like many of you do, with why players are continually getting hurt. But if Devin Brown's the answer, he's got to show it during practice, man. He got to show it all offseason. Now, when I hear Devin Brown speak, heard him last year on the Big Ten tailgate or preseason tour that they did, going around to at the then all 14 Big Ten schools, practices, getting interviews with Ryan Day and numerous coaches. Last year was an interview with Devin Brown, Kyle McCord. I remember seeing that. I'm thinking, okay, one of these guys has the sound, feels more like the guy who I want being the starting quarterback. It's not saying that he has earned the title or that he is worthy of that. I'm just saying it's a sound out of his mouth into the microphone, out of his. It was something that really showed me, hey, okay, you sound like you got the goods. Now I need to see it with my own eyes. And unfortunately, his numbers during his 2-year career at Ohio State, played in 8 games, 2 his freshman year, 6 last year. It's only thrown for 217 passing yards, 57.1% completion percentage, 7.8 yards per attempt, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception, a passer rating. This is a good thing of 138.7. That's okay. That's okay. But what is it? What is he doing? He's not playing that much. He's not able to get on the field consistently. He is not somebody that has won the job yet. So Devin Brown might be the answer. And if you want to look at his rushing numbers, since we're talking about Will Howard last year, Devin Brown, 22 rushes, 23 total rushing yards, 1 rushing touchdown. Some of you might be saying, Jay, whoa. I know he had better than that. Well, in college football, one of the weird things that they do with the stats, your sack yardage, your negative sack yardage is deducted from your rushing total. So he could have had, let's just say, 50 total rushing yards. Well, you're going to deduct his negative sack yardage against that number to get you where he is at the end of the season. Do I like that philosophy? No, I think it should be changed, but that's the way the stat is right now. So, yes, he had truly more rushing yards, but they decided to make this weird rule in college football. Devin Brown can win the job. I am not going to be somebody that's going to come on here and say he cannot win the job, or he cannot be a guy who starts at quarterback for Ohio State in the fall. He absolutely can win this job. He has to earn it all off season, spring practice, actually even before that. Once the season ended, once he got healthy after the Cotton Bowl, you start working, you start grinding, you try to show everybody, not just the coaches, but also your peers, you are the guy that has earned the right to be QB1 at Ohio State. You have to earn it. That's it. It can't be handed to you. You can't just walk in and say, oh, well, I got this gift given to me, and it is the title of QB1. That can happen. I don't think that should happen. And if Devin Brown wants to be the guy and say, hey, I know Will Howard's played a lot. I know he's more experienced than me. I know he's won a conference championship. I know he beat a team that was a national runner-up in that season. I know those things. But if Devin Brown wants to win it, you got to know those things. Don't let those things become obstacles for you, and go out there and win the job. And when he goes out there and tries to win the job, it's going to be tough. It's going to be obstacles in your way that you didn't expect to be there. That's okay. It's a part of the journey. It's a part of life. So for Devin Brown, yes, he can win the job. But I cannot definitively say right now, based off the data, which is the film that we have seen, or that we have, that he is the right guy to start at quarterback for Ohio State. Sorry. I don't know, some of y'all would want me to say, yeah, Jay, you know you want a number 33 to be a starting quarterback in Columbus. Yeah. We know that's your guy. Yeah, we know you like that. You know you like them abnormal numbers at quarterback. No. I know I was trying to joke there a little bit, but absolutely not. I've actually had somebody tell me, I forget exactly who it was. I remember somebody talking to me about the quarterbacks at Ohio State and the number situation that Devin Brown's quarterback number that he wears. He's like, hey, man, now you know you can't have a quarterback at Ohio State start with that number. It just wouldn't be right. It wouldn't feel right. I'm like, hey, man, that's what he wants to do. That's up to him. It is weird to me. It's very weird to you. Many of you watching this or listening to this right now have seen the movie Friday Night Lights. And I saw that the high school football team I played on that year that it came out, we got to go to the movie theater and got private viewing. It was us and another football team. I want to say it was Hamilton Heights. I'm not exactly sure, but it was two football teams there in the movie theater watching that movie together. And I remember seeing the quarterback, and I'm like, hey, sir, that number is not a quarterback number. It's a little weird. It's a little abnormal. Why don't you just go out there and get that number and just change it? Number 2, number 10. You already got a 0 on your number. Number 10. Just take the 0 off number 2. Like, it would have made a whole lot of sense. That's what he wanted. And I was like, okay, maybe he's playing both ways. Maybe he's a safety. No. It was weird back then when I saw Friday Night Lights for the first time. It's weird to me now still when I see posters of Friday Night Lights around different areas. Something pops up on the socials of Friday Night Lights, the movie, or when I watch the movie, because I'm a person that still watches movies from my childhood. Yes, I occasionally have watched it. It's been a while since I've seen that movie. Might have to pop it in. Well, search it on the Apple TV. I might have to do that sometime soon. That's a really good movie. I really enjoy that. But no, man, like, that's him. I'm not going to say that's the reason why he shouldn't be a starting quarterback, even in a joking way. But I will say this. He's got to earn it, man. He absolutely has to earn it. He can earn the title QB1 and steal it or take it away from Will Howard. But I don't know if that's going to happen. What I do think is going to happen is something that Ryan Day also have in common, that we both agree with. It's the depth of the wide receiver room and the tight end room. I'll tell you why next. Thank you for making Locked On Buckeyes your first listen every day. One thing I enjoy about really this time of year, one, there's no offseason around here at Locked On Buckeyes, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. But also being able to kind of revisit some conversations we've had and kind of go back in our mind and think about what the state of current positions is and what is the current landscape of current positions. Now, Ryan Day, during his presser, talked about, well, he's asked concerns about the quarterback room, offensive line on the right side. We've touched that numerous times. We will do it again before the season starts. Wide receiver depth. didn't mention the tight end room. And I think, to me, honestly, maybe to you as well, there's a bigger issue with the tight end room right now than the wide receiver room, or maybe it's bigger room, yes. Bigger issue with the tight ends than the wide receivers. Wide receivers, it is really one guy that everybody else has no experience. That sounds like a conversation we had, or very little to no experience. Sounds like a conversation we had about the quarterback room. Because outside of Will Howard, there are some guys that have a little bit of experience. The other guys have no experience. Outside of Emeka Egbuka, some guys have a little bit of experience. The other guys have no experience. And so there's a lot of similarities there, but for some reason, people don't view the wide receiver room the same way they view the quarterback room. What is that? Hashtag poor analysis. We're going to keep saying it all offseason. Because when I look at the wide receiver room right now at Ohio State, there is a concern, a healthy concern. Emeka Egbuka is a future, potential first-round pick. I believe if he plays like he will, like he should, he will be a future first-round pick. I wholeheartedly believe that. But outside of them, yes, you have Jeremiah Smith, and everybody believes he's going to be good. But the reality is he has no experience. Will he have growing pains in the season? Probably. I know Brian Smith is a guy that believes in Jeremiah Smith. I know that Ohio State, the players rave about him. But wait till you get on the field. Yes, there's a possibility, and it's reality that he might have some issues. What do we remember about Travion Henderson's rookie freshman year? He started off hot and then kind of hit that freshman wall. That is expected. Will that happen to Jeremiah Smith? I can't say yes. I can't say no. I can just say it's possible. But outside of that, Carnell Tate has a little bit more experience, literally just a little bit. Jaden Ballard, Marlon Graham may be in the mix. Brandon Ennis will be in the mix. Bryson Rogers should be in the mix, depending on how many receivers Hartline wants to use. But outside of those guys, what you got? Kojo Antwi and David Adolph. What are those two names I just mentioned? You rarely hear those. So just because we know a little bit more about the receivers, and it may be because we highlight receivers quite a bit here in recruiting, and Jeremiah Smith and Carnell Tate and Brandon Ennis and Marlon Graham and Bryson Rogers and others, we've highlighted them so many times throughout the history of this show. Man, it's possible that you may think that they're going to be better. I have no idea what these guys will be. I can make expectations, or I can project that they're going to be and have expectations for them. But reality is, I can't say yes or no yet. So yeah, there's a level of concern with the wide receiver room and the depth there. That's healthy. That's okay. I do think that Brian Hartline should not just use 3 guys. But then I've been hearing Zach Smith say, well, he used 5 or 6 guys, which is true. Maybe a happy medium is just using 4, maybe 5. Use 1 more than normal, maybe 2 more than normal. But don't do the 6. I don't think 3 is right. But also, if you don't do 3, why are you not using 3? It's because your guys can't go the whole game. It's because you want to keep more guys engaged so they don't hit the transfer portal? Or is it because you truly believe those guys are the right group and core in the room to help the team be successful? Figure out the why. Trust me. You want to figure out your why, because once you figure out your why, it'll help you be more productive and accomplish the goals you want to accomplish. When it comes to the tight end room, we got some issues. Not because there's not talent in the room. No, I'm not saying that. But outside of G. Scott Jr., how many guys have you seen in a Buckeye uniform in the tight end room? Honestly, I probably should have said, how many guys outside of G. Scott Jr. can you name without using Google in the tight end room? I don't believe throughout this show that I've said any other tight end name of a tight end than G. Scott Jr. That was partially on purpose, because many of you, I just mentioned the wide receivers at Ohio State. G. Scott Jr. came in from the Pacific Northwest to Ohio State to be a wide receiver. Now, he changed from wide receiver to tight end a couple years ago, had to change his body, had to change and learn a lot about the position of tight end. But many people might not be able to know many tight ends at Ohio State. I'm not saying all, but many of you cannot. And therein lies a potential issue with Ohio State. Now, you may say, Jay, I know Jelani Thurman. What is he? He has very little experience. I know Will Kazmarek. What is he? He's a transfer from Ohio. What do we know about him? There's going to be a learning curve for him at Ohio State. What else do you know? You know Patrick Gerd, maybe. Who is he? Possibly the new Mitch Rossi. Is he going to be a guy that can do that role very well? Gotta wait and see. I think he can be decent. I don't know if he'll be Mitch Rossi. Mitch Rossi that was a dude, man. That was a dude that I don't know if he got his just due. I don't know if he got the respect he deserves because, man, he did a lot of dirty work. He was one of those guys that did not need the attention. He was just going to go out there, take his lunch pail, get his hard hat on, and just do the dirty work, man. Do the grunt work. Go home, relax a little bit, see the family, see the kids, go back out there and do it again. The construction workers that are literally out there sometimes in the heat, 10, 12 hours a day, got their lunch box, got their hard hat, go out there, work, do the dirty work, go home, see the family, spend a little bit of time with the family, and then all of a sudden, what do? Go to sleep and go right back at it. That was kind of Mitch Rossi's mindset. I ain't going to get the attention. No one really may know me by face. They may know my name. It's on the back of my jersey, all that good stuff. But what did he do? He got his lunch pail, went out there, and went to work every single day. Will that be Patrick Gerd? Buddy, I don't know. But this room right now, we know what some of the guys did in high school. We have seen Will Kachmarik's film from Ohio. If you have not, I highly encourage you to go do that because we like basing things here on this show based off film. Not based off what somebody else says about him, but based off the film. So go out there, look at his film. If G. Scott Jr. is starting at tight end at Ohio State, should you be concerned? Yes. That's not me saying he's going to be a bad player this year, but should you be concerned? Yes. Because has he shown you he can do every facet or every aspect of the tight end position at a high level? Not yet, no. But also keep in mind, it's still a transition because going from receiver to going to tight end, that is one of those transitions that is very, 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 very difficult. You often hear about guys that are tight ends in high school that put on some healthy weight to move over to tackle in college. Then ultimately, they may end up moving up and going on to play in the National Football League at tackle. Why? Because they may have realized that they're not a tight end in college. They definitely won't be in the NFL. So what position can they transfer to or change to help them be the best they could be in college? That will also help them make a lot of money in the NFL. So for G. Scott Jr., I don't know, man. I think he'll play. I don't think he's not going to play. But there's still questions. There's still concerns. So I am comfortable with Ryan Day talking about the receiver position in the room of the depth. That's something we've talked about here quite a bit this offseason. We're not going to stop. But also the tight ends, that's a major miss. Now, granted, one thing Ryan Day has that we don't have is the ability to see these kids play every day, see these kids practice, see these kids do a lot of, see these athletes do a lot of things that we don't have the ability to see. Don't at all. He's the head coach. It's his job. He could be at home watching from practice back from spring. Why? It's his job. So Ryan Day may have seen enough from the tight end room to not to leave them off. If he has, hope some of these guys have raised their level of play a whole lot. Because if not, things might not go the way that we want them to go for Ohio State in the tight end room in the fall. Have you heard the good news? Locked On has launched the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel on YouTube. And now it's also available on Amazon Fire TV in the free Fire TV channels app. Locked On Sports Today is here for you 24/7, covering the top sports stories of the day with the local experts of Locked On Plus, our national shows covering every league. Find Locked On Sports Today now, available on the free Fire TV channels app, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. You can follow me on X at jstevens07. Send every email to jstevens317@gmail.com. This has been Locked On Buckeyes. We'll see you next time.